We broke out of this pennant here. This was like, I called it Federer's pennant. He was measuring it, and David Federer was measuring it from the top, but I was just taking it from the SEC breakdown level. So we are, out of the weeds on that for the
Yeah.
most part. And now price is just kind of like consolidating here. This here yellow line is the 100-day moving average. So I think so long as we oscillate around that and hold that as like general support, it should just continue to build up as we go into the future. Another thing here is I've been looking at Pulse on the Ethereum chain. There's a huge pair over there. It says that there's almost $2 million of ETH paired up against almost $2 million of Pulse. And we were seeing some like huge sells come in on that side. So somebody bridged a bunch of Pulse over and was dumping it on the Ethereum side. But that's look at these wicks. If I delete out all these drawings, look at the size of these wicks over here. I mean, someone's just nuking, and then someone's coming in and supporting it over there.
Buying it right back up.
Yeah, right.
So there's definitely a clear intention here to help support the price. Now, this Pulse chart looks a little different because it's basically a test of the lows. If you notice here, we got a wick low, a double bottom, and a triple bottom here with wicks even lower, which might be a concern. Well, why is this testing the lows? Well, this is Pulse measured against Ethereum. So, in terms of Ethereum's overall relative strength, Ethereum's been rising and Pulse has just kind of been grinding sideways. Yeah. But we're still getting that support in here. So I think it's coming into do or die time. I think we can expect a move up or down in the short term. We're playing with these moving averages. All the energy is getting squeezed into this like funnel, and it's gonna ping pong around, and then something's gonna happen.
We hope it's that way.
Right.
It definitely feels like something is imminent because, I mean, we had that, aggressive pump off the lows like we talked about. And then, Pulse just hasn't really been able to flip and turn that, 4 zeros and a 7 into support yet. So we've come back down below that. But, I'm sure a lot of us follow Jenkins on Twitter. Like he talks a lot about, charting PulseChain. He'll do a stream every now and then. But do you see also like that 44% off of SAC rate, the 4056 area as like a main level of support right now? You were looking at that 100-day average. That was pretty much it, I believe.
Yeah, right here. Down here, 5.6. Where are we at here? Yeah, right here where this was a double bottom. And then, yeah. I mean, I think the 100-day moving average here, and then if you turn it into a 21 daily bull market support band, we're touching it now. So this is kind of where I expect support to pick up. 100%. But there's always that what if, with a lot of these other things, it's very hard to know, exactly right now how this is going to play out. I think my intuition is telling me that this is going to just be one of these periods where we just kind of grind sideways until that move comes in.
Yeah, and the big what if too is there's a lot of big bag holders out there, right? Still, I mean, and who knows if they get just frustrated and want to jump into something else. I hope we've washed a lot of them out by now, but yeah, there's that.
I mean, if we come and repeat, right?
Yeah,
that we might just repeat testing this area, and by February we're moving back up towards SAC rate.
Yep.
There are a lot of big bag holders in the system, and what we were talking about in the green room comes to mind. Just people like that are tired of waiting. They're jumping ship. They're chasing other projects, which would explain a lot of the. It's just fatigue, right?
Yeah.
A fatigue of waiting for something to happen.
Yep.
So I mean, just more sideways action builds up to a bigger move.
But as frustrated as people may get, I think it's still healthy. It's still bullish for the overall market to get them out now. Rather than wait for a 3 or 4x and then they sell and you're back to where you are. That's almost as frustrating as just getting them out now, where they don't have the power to do that later.
Calmer ride back up to SAC rate, I think is kind of what you're saying. Because I mean that would kind of be what that would create, I think. And you were just saying, Axis, like talking about getting to SAC rate, maybe next month or something like that. talking about the Bitcoin halving coming up, and then we'll really go into like this cycle overall. I know you had a great stream the other day with your buddy where you guys do like once or twice a year, just macro stuff. And I watched that whole thing. It was awesome. But as far as PulseChain by the halving, I mean, to you, there's a lot of scenarios that we could see here, but Sami, I know, put out a video a couple weeks back where he was talking about, and huge caveat here, but he was talking about if PulseChain were to perform as Hex did in the last cycle, which, you know, at this point, I don't know how many people think that is what's going to happen or not. But with the halving coming up, he was talking about needing to have almost a 20x from here by the halving to keep pace with what Hex did. So 20x just by the halving. Where do you think we could actually be by then? You know, just looking at the kind of this first quarter and then going into the second quarter for Pulse.
Yeah, so I don't know if I want to dishearten anyone, but I don't think a 10,000x is in the card for Pulse, because you have to divide all that value up against all of the different things that have now been built on Pulse. You'd need to see wouldn't need to do technical analysis to know that stuff was coming. All you need to know is the adoption. So if you could just find the adoption chart, and as long as then we're exponentially putting on new users over the next, let's say, 3 years, then yeah, you can hit those numbers. What we need is users, more than anything, to really nail down like a 10,000x type situation. But do I think we need to see a 20x by April or May? I don't think we need to, and I don't think we will. I'm more of the mind that this might get up to a 200 to 300% move here on Pulse by that time frame, which would put us up near the all-time highs here. But it wouldn't need to be anything more. Right. This is the reason why I'm saying these things is because there's so much economic energy invested in Pulse and PulseX SAC phases, and thusly everything else that came with it, that is waiting for a return. But in Hex, there was none of that. It was just you deposited ETH into an AA lobby, and the price was already performing, live every day in and day out. So if you were getting in on day 100 or 150 or 200, you were getting whatever the price was at that time. And this is like just a totally different situation where there's people that got in, and in many cases, there's folks that got in early into these sacrifice phases that are still up. Mm-hmm. So they're selling like Hex value at 5, 10, 15, 20 cents even today. In Pulse, their Pulse is worth a higher priced Hex. So they're still, and for just food for thought, up here at the highs, folks were selling like $1 to $1.60 Hex in Pulse value. Right. And then you got to think too about like the ink rewards at $80 ink and like during this period, and how much money was made there as well. There's a lot of money that gets made, but not enough of it comes back in. That's the issue that we had during these phases. But so once all those guys are made whole and like they're out and like they're happy with where things are for themselves individually, and all of the lettuce has been rinsed, and we're looking at, we got to start being more modest. And I think this really calls on folks to have more belief now than ever, and to really come in and buy bigger size and go longer at the lows, because that's really where these 300% moves on Pulse are going to actually be beneficial. And then once you get so for example, if you bought bags of Hex at 5, 10, and 20 cents, let's say, over the last couple of years, but you never came back in again to buy Pulse down here or the Hexes on their lows, then you're not going to obviously be happy with a 5x or a 10x. Right. But if we could get people in that frame of mind, then the multiples would come higher, because they'd be holding on to their stuff because they'd have more tempered expectations of what's to come. So I think this is just a process, and I think, that's kind of the levels. First, we need to take out SAC rate, which is going to be, I think we'll go somewhere between 0.0001 and 0.0012, somewhere in here. And then we'll probably chop sideways for a short period. Maybe we'll bleed some guys out, and then it's going to do a secondary pop up to here.
Yeah. towards
Yeah.
all-time high.
I agree. I think once it hits that point, that sack level is going to be important because you know there's going to be people exiting at that point. So, but I also hopefully by then, like you said, there's enough adoption to help absorb a lot of it so that it doesn't hurt too bad.
And looks here at this point, it looks like most of the volume traded on this particular pair was down here at these. So we're doing all right, guys. Like we're not. If you break this level, you're going to be concerned. But right now, this is consolidation below resistance, which is a bullish thing.
Yep.
So this price here, tapping into resistance, resistance, just hugging this line right now. It's like almost like playing possum is a good way to think of it. This was like a really well thought out price markup in price here that the market makers did during this frame. This was like, I think, 9 days of straight up, but no one was trying to push price like here. This was just smart absorption of weak hands every day consistently. And now, a lot of that's out, and now it's just let time do its thing now.